All right, here we go. The Splash Cast has avoided this for 2 weeks, really 2 months, really. Since all of this came out, we have really not talked about this Kyrie Irving anti-Semitism, anti-Semitic Twitter. Um, it has came out that Kyrie Irving is now suspended indefinitely until he apologizes. He has to donate $500,000 to a Jewish cause. He also has to meet with Jewish leaders and have training on hate speech. I'm going to ask a few questions first. What did Kyrie actually say? Because from what I understand, what I've gathered, what I've read, all of this came from a retweet of a movie, correct?
Correct.
Why? I don't understand why he has to apologize. I really am trying to understand how a retweet caused all of this. All of this. This. And when I say this, I'm not saying that retweeting that was right. I'm not saying that if either he was either dumb for retweeting it, knowing that there's anti-Semitism in it, denying the Holocaust, denying how many people actually got killed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, or he retweeted a movie without actually knowing what the movie was about, which is dumb in itself anyway. Either way, it was a dumb, reckless decision to retweet that movie without doing your homework. But I don't understand. I don't understand what he actually did or said that warrants all of this. That warrants the suspension. They've got everybody scared to speak. I mean, it's honest. You can be honest. Everybody's scared to speak. Ain't no athlete going to stand up for him at this point. But everybody's scared to speak. So what did he actually say? What is anti-Semitism? That's my second question. What is anti-Semitism? We as a friend group have the luxury of having a
Amen.
pastor.
Oh,
Having a
what you was about to
pastor.
say.
No. I mean, I'm talking about it, but I'm asking legit questions that when I've had these conversations with other people, these are the questions that they've asked, and I'm not talking about just black or white. I'm talking about everybody. What does actually anti-Semitism mean, right? What and because as I said, we have a very diverse friend group who one is
That's a
actually a
nice way to put
pastor,
it.
went through and got his degree, got his master's, and he's an ordained minister, graduated from theology school, seminary school. I'm sorry, with a degree in theology. So he actually educated. He tried in a quick attempt through work days to educate us on what actually a Semite is in reference to the Bible. When understanding what he said and doing a little more research, I now understand Kyrie's response or his apology for hurting people. In the response, they said, "Well, how do you know about why are you anti-Semitic or whatever?" And he's like, "How can I be an anti-Semitic? How can I be anti-Semitic against myself?" That lends to what he's reading and what he's believing when it comes to what is it, Black Israelites.
Well, what he actually said was, I know myself, so I can't be anti Semitic. And
Correct.
they were asking for a yes or no response. Kyrie,
Does not give
I try
yes or
not,
no responses
yes.
at all.
I don't like to call people smart or dumb. I don't want to say that he's too smart to know that. I don't really like to insult people's intelligence unless I truly earn it. But in this case, he was being he was standing in what he believed at that point was the right answer. But I don't know if everybody in the room used their context clues to understand what message he was trying to infer.
I don't think they were looking for context clues. I think they were looking for directness, and Kyrie feels that the media is going to paint him in a certain light anyway. So if they're going to paint him in a certain light anyway, no matter what he says,
or does.
he's like, well, I'm not going to give you the paintbrush. Y'all going to have to do it from imagination.
Yeah. And that was my kind of frustration was you're so hell bent on trying to get him to answer this question that you're not really understanding that he's attempting to communicate with you just non-verbally. And
right.
I don't know anybody who's actually seen the movie. That's my other part. Everybody is up in arms. I'm like, all right, so can we confirm that all these messages are in there, or has anybody seen it to confirm it before we do all this talking? And I feel like both parties have done their part to make this much worse than it is. I'm a big proponent of when whatever the headline is shock value, just don't say anything, because everybody wants a response. And I don't think that most of the time people understand that. They think that they want a good response or a bad response. They just want you to respond. And if you don't respond and wait a second, then things will kind of figure themselves out.
So, Sneaky, thank you. Sneaky typed, for those that are listening, I think the media is bullying Kyrie at this point. I want to know why Kyrie's fine is $500,000 for not saying anything, but Myers Leonard was $50,000 for being caught on tape saying an anti-Semitic slur.
That is like the domestic violence suspensions. At one point, they were a lot less. It's a different time period. Now they're moving to they're going to be a lot more. And if that's why I may not agree with the suspension.
I don't understand the correlation of that.
There was a point in the NFL where domestic violence, would be like a game or whatever, and then you'd come back. Now they're taking these things a lot more seriously.
You're just talking about the time period, so it's just time frame.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So hate speech is in a different place, so they're going to treat it differently. I am okay with that, but I once again, a person who believes don't move too fast, just weigh out the consistency. Every time one of these knee-jerk reactions like this happens, there's a follow-up. And then you find yourself in this position where, are you going to be consistent on what you set as the standard, or will you step back and say, maybe I moved too hastily? And I'm assuming, I'm not hoping this or wishing this, but every time something happens. And when it happens, it's going to be very interesting what the standard is at that point.
That sounds well and good. I think Kyrie's being bullied. I think Kyrie is being bullied for his platform. I think if it wasn't Kyrie, I don't think all of this would have happened. Now, the NBA does have now they are not being unfair in that they punish anybody that does racist remarks. They got somebody whole team. With push from the league, but they've gotten everybody. They've done that before. But what I'm saying is, I think Kyrie, for a retweet, is being bullied for his platform, for him being Kyrie, versus more of. And I also think. Let me say this. I think Kyrie's punishment and what he has to say in his indefinite suspension is more of a culmination of everything that's happened with Kyrie around the last 2 years. I think this is the more of, how the feds, when in mob movies, when they say, oh, we got evidence of this, we got evidence of that, but we can't pin it on the mob boss. And then they see the mob boss, or Frank Lucas, for example, wore the fur coat to the fight, and it was like, that's got to be him, and gotcha. This is a gotcha moment. The NBA gotcha. You doing all of this stuff to disparage the NBA shield, and now it's like, okay, he tripped himself up by retweeting this, and we are gonna lay it out. We are gonna hit him with a haymaker and everything. I think he's being bullied for just being Kyrie Irving. To me, this is what it looks like to me. He's being bullied for being Kyrie Irving.
Let me ask you a question right now.
Yes.
Amazon, NBA, right? Partners.
Mm-hmm.
You go to Amazon right now, all of the NBA stuff is up there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Amazon is distributor of this book, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they will be the person who's actually literally sending out the hate speech. Do you think that the NBA is going to sever their ties with Amazon?
No.
But aren't they the person who provides the platform for what Kyrie Irving retweeted?
Yep.
And if there was no Amazon, there would be no retweet, right?
If there was no Twitter, there would be no tweets.
But do you think at any point the NBA is interested in severing any type of strategic partnerships with Amazon?
Nope. And that, hey, now take this with a grain of salt, what I'm about to say. But this is what other people that have been canceled recently in other facets of entertainment were saying. I'm not saying everything else that they said was right. I know that they're stupid. Some people are stupid and they do stupid things and say stupid things. They get off their meds, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I always say somebody could be stupid for 100 sentences. I mean, for 98 out of 100 sentences, but them 2 sentences gonna make you think. You'll be like, well, damn. Them brain farts of intelligence. Again, the Splashcast is not condoning any racism, any anti-anything. We are all for inclusion. What I am highlighting is that it seems like Kyrie is being bullied because it is a certain demographic. Because the NBA,
I'm not saying that.
I am. The NBA, there have been many times and many retweets of other things. We don't talk about the NFL. The NFL is its own good old boy plantation over there by itself. But when it comes to the NBA, there has really in any sports, there has never been this amount of controversy over a retweet or something that was inferred when it came to us.
I'm okay with all of it as long as it's consistent.
But that's my point. It's not.
The consistency is where I fall off the wagon. You need to sever ties with Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
If Kyrie retweeted something from Amazon and you have an issue with what he retweeted, then you should have an issue with Amazon putting it out.
You should.
But you don't.
And y'all better monitor every tweet and retweet of every NBA player, because there should be repercussions for every questionable tweet that you have. This sets a dangerous precedent, now that I think about it.
I'm not worried about the precedent. I want y'all to have the same consistency when it comes to the money. That always for me.
But that crazy person said, well, the money is in the power, and the money comes from the people in power, and the people in power are flexing their power right now. We can never cancel anybody the way that Kyrie is being canceled right now. We could never cancel anybody like that.
That ain't my job. I don't even care about canceling people. That's a whole different discussion on a different day. Just keep your consistency. If he is wrong for retweeting what you have deemed as hate speech, and you are more than welcome to, from what I read, it is a terrible movie. I haven't seen it. I do plan to see it so that I can make a true assessment of it myself. But before I see it, if you're mad with him for retweeting it, you should be equally as upset at Amazon for posting it and making it available for sale.
If it's that bad, it should not be. You're right. If it's that bad, it should not be for sale.
You should strike up your own oath and think to yourself that this is a company that I do not want to partner with because they distribute hate speech.
Fair. My final point. I said
that sounds crazy, right? That sounds crazy.
Yeah, they're not going to.
They would never do that.
The money. My final point. I said I was going to address the Kyrie stuff. I said I was going to ask my questions when it came to the Kyrie stuff, because I still don't think it seems like he's being bullied. I told you, it seems like he's being bullied for everything. And at this point, they are trying to flex their muscle on Kyrie. My final point, and I'm going to talk to black folks. Stop tearing down other athletes and calling them all types of names, all types of sellouts for not standing with Kyrie. Stop doing that. Stop trying to call out LeBron. Stop trying to call out Steph. Stop trying to call out Giannis. Stop trying to call out all these people, because you're looking at it on a micro level. You're looking at it as LeBron should stand with Kyrie. You're not looking at LeBron the brand. You're not looking at Steph Curry the brand, right? LeBron the brand he hired all of his friends. He has hundreds of thousands of people. I wouldn't say hundreds of thousands. Probably 1,000 people that count on him. The LeBron brand, maybe more than 1,000. And I'm not even talking about just Nike. I'm just talking about the stuff that he started, that he's invested in, right?
Way more
so
than 1,000.
okay, that I was going there. He's got a school that he is funding him. I mean, I'm sure there's investors, but that he is starting and funding. He has all of these ventures with Maverick. He has an entire distribution deal with media. He has his own media. Same with Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is in Silicon Valley. Heavy in Silicon Valley. Steph Curry is in Silicon Valley too. Heavy. Y'all got to look at these players and think about all the people that they are providing jobs for. All of the people that count on them to improve their lives. LeBron and we could talk, especially LeBron and Steph Curry. They doing a whole lot in the community. LeBron got a school. Steph Curry just worked with the city of Oakland and donated millions of dollars to build libraries all through Oakland, because they're not there, to increase literacy amongst minorities. Y'all got to see and look at it, the bigger picture. Look at it on a higher level than trying to call people out and saying, oh, he's not standing with them. Listen, if you get mad at athletes for not standing out publicly, the days of the Muhammad Ali's, the days of the Kareem Abdul-Jabbars and the Jim Browns, you're not going to see a lot of those days anymore. Those days are over. You want to know why? Because all those athletes had one common enemy or one common issue that they were fighting for, and it was civil rights and equality. You can have multiple people talk about that because it was one issue and we were united in one way. There was no media to tear them down. In order for us, if you want LeBron and all of them to do that, then there's got to be more unity there. But just look at and force them to do it by themselves and then tear them down and not look at it on a macro level, y'all not thinking right. Y'all need to change y'all thinking.
I'm not gonna. So this is what I will say. Just like physical hand-to-hand combat and wars have changed, same thing with social justice wars.
Mm-hmm.
Where before, you're right, they used to line up in lines. They be drumming and shooting. Don't shoot till you see the whites of their eyes. And then tactically, things have evolved. And now, I don't even think the hand-to-hand part is the more dangerous part. It's the cyber portion of it. It's the same thing with activism. Before, you're right, marching and those things. And I still think that those things are vital. But there's also a part of this that you can do that does not involve anything that you are saying or marching or walking or any of that.
You can be the big man in the corner.
Influence, exactly. So, and then you know me always. Stop judging people. Mind your own business. If you got time to judge what they're not doing, then you should go do that.
Calling out Shaq, like, come on, man.
Then I can't say that I have an issue with that, because if you're a public figure, that comes with it. That comes with the job. But if you have time to point at what somebody's not doing, you should probably fill that gap instead of pointing at what's not being done. That's how I feel anyway.
Wow, this game.
But
I'm listening. This Kyrie thing is about to get messy.
I'm not concerned about any of that other than the standard that is now set, and watching them hold themselves to this standard. Because let's not forget about the Phoenix Suns and Robert Sarver and all the stuff that he did now. So, and you know that, They're trying to diversify and get away from these these single-handed owner type of teams, but you still got them out there. And we know that with ownership, those are rich guys who believe they can say and do anything. You make sure you hold them owners to the same standard. It's going to get very interesting.
One thing you can say, good point. One thing you can say about all of this, the veil has been lifted. Everybody will now be held accountable. Everybody.
And that's the reason I don't hate it. If this is the bar that you're going to set, cool. But just like the Twitter thing, that TikTok thing, it's cool when they do it.
The problem when I do it.
Yeah, we finna see here soon and very soon. Because I'm sure you understand that just like everything else, the pendulum swings in both ways.